King Charles, when he was Prince Charles, walked her down the aisle because she wouldn't speak to her own father, right? Her own
Facts.
father has had a leg removed and is clearly in bad health, and she doesn't seem to give a monkeys. You
Mm-mm.
know, who are we talking about here? We are talking about somebody who is ruthlessly ambitious and who is unfortunately shown her true colors.
Hi, all. Welcome to Royally Unfiltered, the show that takes you behind palace gates like never before. This is where tradition meets truth and nothing is off limits. This week, helping me tackle all the biggest headlines are authors and royal commentators Charles Ray and Duncan Larcombe. You guys also worked together at The Sun, which I think is so fun to mention as well, because you bring a very interesting perspective to all things royal because of that history together. So thank you so much for being here. Uh, I'd like to know, Charlie, I'm curious to know if you saw the video that I sent you. It's a really fun video of King Charles that's going viral. It was posted by Russell Myers, and he
Yeah.
reports that King Charles was presented with his honorary Brazilian Jiu Jitsu white belt by a legendary jiu-jitsu master, I guess. I don't know what you would call him, named Roger Gracie at his academy in West London. And he was visiting the center to hear about the work of Reorg. This is an organization set up to promote the sport among serving military personnel, veterans, and emergency service workers facing physical, mental, and social challenges. So very much in the realm of things that we see the royal family passionate about, our veterans, mental health, and social challenges in general. So that was so cute to me, watching this video of the king reacting to this gift and what to do with it. I even saw people that aren't necessarily royal followers sharing the video because they thought, what a fun, like, how fun is this
It,
moment?
it was a fun moment, but we have to remember that there was a serious point to it as well, as you've just mentioned, that it's all about serving or ex-military personnel and also people involved in the emergency services in this country, to help them with a little bit of self-defense. Not that they need it, but a little bit of self-defense, but more importantly, help with their health and mental health. And you're absolutely right. The fact that this guy, Roger Gracie, gave the king this white belt, and he was waving it around. I mean, I think that if he comes across someone, a member of his staff that is a bit naughty, he's going to hit him on the head with it rather than throw him over his shoulder. I think he's a bit like me; he's a bit too old for that sort of thing. Yeah, no, it was nice. It was nice to see, and these are the sort of events where this is the royal family at their best. This is what they do. This is what they help promote. Organizations or charities that help other people. That's the whole point of them really being there.
Mm, I love that. And Duncan, we'll get into this story later on in the show, but it feels like there's a frenzy around Harry and Meghan coming to the UK, and that there is this dark cloud around the royal family. The William and the king at war. I'm not buying it. But you watch a video like this, and the king is so carefree and fun, and it really does contradict some of those nasty headlines. Am I just a glass half full kind of gal or what?
No, you're not, Kinsey. Of course you're not. But no, I mean, was when I looked at this King Kung Fu going viral. That's not the right martial art, is it? But I thought I had visions of him doing big karate chops and jumping around a room,
Like Elvis.
kicking people in the face, and I was actually a little bit disappointed when it was just him waving his little white belt. But um, no, look, Harry is going to, as far as we all know, Harry's going to bring his family over and meet up with his father, the king. And that, to be honest, that's really long overdue as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, we'll dive into that more a little bit later, but you're saying you needed some more karate chops. You needed some more you needed some more
No,
activity.
I just expected it. I didn't need more of it. And I was quite relieved, actually, frankly, when it didn't happen, but I just expected it. King does jujitsu training,
So
you
cute.
do the
Yeah.
math.
Charlie, can I ask you about the contentious headlines regarding Prince William and King Charles and how there's this, in my opinion, myth that there's a real friction happening behind the scenes because of this upcoming potential visit from Harry. And, we've seen both. We're going to talk about Prince William in London for London Climate Week. We've seen King Charles. They both seem in the zone, committed to the moment, and carefree. And I'm not buying these stories about how there's a war in the background that we should know about.
I've spoken to a couple of people, and from what they tell me, that there is no war, there is no friction between the king and his eldest son. The fact that Harry is coming over here, he was always due to come anyway because of the Invictus Games countdown. The big surprise, of course, is Meghan. Personally, I am someone who never believed that she's going to come back to this country. So me, being Thomas the Doubter, I shall wait and see if it actually happens. If it happens, then fair enough. But we have to remember that there is another granddad as well, who hasn't even met his son-in-law. There's no
Grandchildren.
grace. Oh, there's no
Oh,
grace.
you're talking Thomas Markle. Yes,
I'm
yeah.
talking Thomas Markle. There is no grace at all of any hand of friendship going out to him. I mean, if this is a hand of friendship going out to the king, then fine. I think it's more important that the king sees his American grandchildren, that they are coming over, and hopefully he'll spend a reasonable amount of time with them. But let's not forget, poor old Thomas Markle is still stuck out there, still not seeing anything, still not hearing anything. I think that's a bit strange.
And recently lost a limb, which
Yeah.
is, Harry wants to pose next to all of these Invictus warriors who have similar struggles. And it's like, how can we take you seriously in this space when Thomas Markle would love a phone call
It's
from
not
the
just
both of you?
it's not just Harry. I mean, his own daughter is ignoring him. I mean, how much sentence does this guy have to serve before she has shows some compassion towards him? I mean, he's no spring chicken. So, is it going to happen that she never sees him ever again until his death? I mean, that's terrible, absolutely terrible optics at all. Absolutely terrible.
Agree with you. All right. To a happier story, the Prince of Wales Earthshot Prize is halfway through its 10-year bid to find and support the innovative answers to the planet's environmental challenges, according to People magazine. Prince William hopped on a London bus with wildlife champion Robert Irwin to travel to a special celebration for the Earthshot Prize. This happened on Tuesday. It was fun to see Prince William on a bus. It kind of he looked a little bit out of place, Duncan, because we expect him to be popping out of a helicopter or walking out of a castle. There are certain expectations. Okay. So it was fun to see him pop out of a bus with Robert. He made a speech that day where he said that he had proof that the Earthshot initiatives was succeeding in its immense climate and nature goals, noting that he felt more optimistic than ever. And he went on to list many of the prize success stories, including clean air policy in India, planting trees in Brazil, and the High Seas Treaty to protect international waters. One thing that I do love, Duncan, about the Earthshot Prize is it's not just showing up and cutting a ribbon at a venue. We are seeing tangible evidence that that William is contributing to these changes that are being made that are improving our oceans and our air quality. And I
Mm.
think legacy wise, that has to be incredibly hard work, but incredibly important work for Prince William. Are you grew up with this guy basically? You watched him as a young man, seeing him today doing what he's doing. Are you ever impressed? Are you ever surprised? Are you ever, you know, kind of, oh, I hate to use this word, but like proud of him? Is this a therapy moment?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure William would love me to be proud of him. I'm sure that would he, he'd wear that as a badge of honor. Um, I think the Earthshot Prize and what it represents in terms of his priorities as a member of the senior royal family is a good indication of his legacy, what he's trying to build. He's building on his own fathers when King Charles was the Prince of Wales. He I mean, let's be honest, he was dismissed as a tree hugger at
Yeah.
one stage.
Talk to his
And then
plants.
he has corporate companies, big companies, crawling all over him later in life to say, "Oh, could you do this for us?" And I think it's quite good because obviously the environmental thing has now become massive where it wasn't. Um, and we could criticize society at that time and say that they got that wrong, but I think the royals somehow got it right. The Earthshot Prize is a huge success, and in terms of William's own personal, what do you stand for as heir to the throne, Prince of Wales? You have to have a cause. And he has made this central part of his cause. Um, and seeing it go from strength to strength is just I think it's a really good sign. It's a really good thing for William. I have no idea whether Charlie would say I was mad for saying that, but in my opinion, I think it's just a huge cornerstone of him as a Prince of Wales.
Yeah, Charlie, it does feel like when he sat down and developed the Earthshot Prize, that there was like magic in the room. This is all working out really well for him so far.
It is. I agree with everything that Duncan has actually said, to be perfectly honest, because this is his cause. This is his cause célèbre. He's focused on this, and if he gets criticized for all sorts of things, he can't be criticized for the work that he and his team are putting into this. I mean, they're creating. I think I read somewhere that the people who have won the Earthshot Prize in the last 5 years have actually gone on to greater success because, as Duncan says, larger companies want to get involved. They want to put money into this, and it's a big thing now from companies. Whether it's William, I suspect quite a lot of it is to do with William and his involvement in the environment. Are putting money into causes like this and making things clearer. My one sort of slight criticism is William on a bus. Even though it was an electric bus, he's not actually traveling, at London rush hour with the hoi polloi. It's quite a thing. So that's a little bit stuntish, but it doesn't take away the message that he's trying to get across.
Yeah.
That this is a passion of his, and it's a good passion, and we should all support it.
Mm, I agree with you there. Also, you know, even in creating that visual, that I understand why you're saying it's a little unrealistic to you, but I think that there was something very clever in creating that visual. They realized that that would kind of be seared into our brains forever, the same way the visual of him taking orders at a local, I believe it was a
Oh,
local
sure.
bakery,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're very clever in creating these visuals that stick with us and that
I I
build,
accept
and
that.
they paint who he is for us, and it's a very likable character.
I accept that, Kinsey, and also the point is that it was an electric bus. It
Mm.
wasn't a diesel bus. I don't know if we've got any diesel buses left, but it wasn't a petrol bus. It was an electric bus, and it highlights the fact that London has now got a fleet of electric buses for us to travel on. Although I haven't been on a bus for donkey's years, and I've no intention of trying now. Um,
Charlie,
but
you're so posh.
yeah, yeah,
You're
you know
just
me.
so posh.
You know me, Duncan. I never travel with the readers. I always travel with my own transport.
Own
I'm
entourage.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry, I was just teasing you.
No, I love it. I love it. All right, Duncan, interesting news analytics coming out. This is coming from the Daily Mail. Public backing for the royal family has fallen to its lowest in more than 3 decades. A new poll has suggested the number of Britons who still want a monarchy has fallen by 11 percentage
Mm,
points to just over half of the population in the last 3 years. The new figures indicate the statistics, the lowest in 33 years, signal withering support for the monarchy among younger people. I think that
mm,
there are a couple of things we could talk about here. A, why? And then B, could we see a resurgence thanks to Prince George? I mean, Prince William attracted an entire new demographic. Then he meets
mm,
Catherine. They start dating. Oh my gosh, the interest that these two generate and attracts an entire new generation. Might Prince George be the solution, which is unfair to put on his shoulders, but here we are. And
mm.
and do you have a why that might be happening?
Well, I mean, wow, there's a lot there. I'd
Yeah,
say that
there is.
yeah, when we see, like we did the other day at Trooping of the Colour, when you see George, Louis, and Charlotte all rolled out on the balcony, rolled out for the day, that's because William and Kate know, and probably King Charles knows, that you can't just keep them hidden away till 18 and say, right, public, you've got to love this as our future king. They have to get him out in public, Prince George, and I think that the other point I'd make is that it's a huge, huge problem if the royal family don't connect with that next generation. It. I know that Charlie won't disagree with me. I'm hoping that you won't either, Kinsey. But let's be honest, the the notion that God chose Prince George to become a future king because of the divine right of kings is just ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous even if you're very religious. Of course, he wasn't chosen by God to rule this country when he gets older. And it would almost make us a laughing stock of the world if we thought that that was how people thought we thought. But that doesn't matter. We've got a political system that works pretty well with a constitutional monarchy. And for the longevity of the family, having George out and about and being photographed and, you know, newspapers all fall into line, the BBC, the national broadcasters, they fall into line filming him thinking, oh, well, great. You know, that's important to the longevity because if George and his two siblings can't connect with generation whatever it is that have shown this collapse in popularity and loyalty to the royal family. If that goes, well, then those people are going to grow up, and of course, there's going to be no royal family. Of course, there isn't.
Charles, is it called Glastonbury? Is that the big music festival that happens where you are?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember after Trooping the Color one year, there were flags at Glastonbury of Prince Louis's face, like
Mm.
going crazy at Trooping the Color. They like that was kind of like a chic, funny thing that obviously became a meme. People were there to watch rock acts. People were there to watch like pop stars in the mud. Everybody's dressed it's very Coachella, like American Coachella. But that was a little hint that this younger generation was of interest to the younger generation of royals, was of interest to the younger generation population wise. And I love the children. I think everybody loves the children. So I do think that there's hope there that the children will attract a new generation, but also isn't it just inevitable that the older you get and the more mature you become, Maybe you love the royal family because your mom loved the royal family, or your grandma loved the royal family, or you miss the way things used to be, and they're one of the constants, something that is consistent in your life that you appreciate. Do you think that there could be hope in that?
Well, Kinsey, I do not believe polls generally. Anyway, whether it's in a political poll, whether it's a royal poll, you've got to remember that this poll, which is by Ipsos is quite a well-known polling company. But let's have a few facts here. They polled 1,062 people, 1,062 people, hardly a population. You were at Trooping the Colour. There were thousands and thousands of people lined up, on the streets watching the procession as it went down to Horse Guards Parade. Now that's a poll and a half. That's way more than 1,000 people. And even Ipsos have admitted that they have changed their methodology of polling. They
Yeah.
used an online random probability panel. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Well, I have no idea. But in the past, they've used a quota, a telephone survey, a cold call various people. But it's only 1,000 people. This is hardly, a blow for the monarchy. And when was the poll taken? Just after Andrew's arrest. That's when it was taken. When it was, a controversy that people were saying online and everything else. Oh, that royal family, they're always doing this and they're always doing that. That's when these polls show the royal family is not viable.
Mm.
Was a poll taken after Trooping the Colour? No, it wasn't. Why? Maybe because it showed that the Trooping the Colour showed that the royal family were popular. And we had the procession after. And when the children were with Catherine in the carriage, there were audibly boos. Boos came from the anti-monarchy brigade, the Republic. And I thought that was a bit nasty, booing the children. Oh,
Children.
well, they'll say they weren't booing the children; they were booing the monarchy. But it's still hurtful to hear that sort of thing for children, which is why Catherine looked very, very stern, when it happened. I don't believe that the monarchy is any less popular today than it was, you know, last year.
What about when Queen Elizabeth was alive? Do you think it's
Well,
taken a hit since Queen Elizabeth's death?
yeah, of course it's taken a hit because she was an extremely popular monarch. But you've got to remember, we've had Epstein, we've had Andrew, we've had Mandelson and everything else, all linked up with the royal family. Despite what the king has done about sidelining his brother and everything else, that doesn't seem to be counting for much. You've just got to look at social media to see the sort of people who, Duncan will remember, used to write to us before social media in green ink. That's how you knew they were mad, and so and we just really ignored them. Anti-monarchists have a point of view, but it's all about the timing. It's all about when something controversial happens. Didn't take the poll after Tripping the Colour. Will they take the poll after the various events that we've had after the Garter ceremony? You looked at Royal Ascot, the papers were full of, Catherine looked absolutely sensational at Royal Ascot in, those
Sunny
dresses that she,
yellow, yeah.
yeah, yeah, something, yeah, brilliant. No poll taken then, I just don't,
But
I don't accept the polls.
but sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to speak, but
Go ahead.
I would say it does remind us of the fragility of the royal
Agree.
family as an
Agree.
institution. And if it were the case that younger members of Britain who were growing up just were not interested, just thinking, what's the point? There is a fragility there. I don't actually personally believe that they are fragile. If people are going to queue up for 13 hours to pay their respects to our late Queen, and love her son because he is the son of the Queen. And frankly, I think King Charles has done a brilliant job since he became king. Um, you know, that's one thing, but I think it does show the the possible weakness of it as an institution, and it has to be very careful as an institution to make sure that doesn't change. That
But
would be
Duncan,
my view.
Duncan, you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. But Duncan, you've got to remember when the poll was taken at a time where there was a controversy on Andrew had just been arrested. And you know as well as
Mm.
I do, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics, and they don't always go together.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not going to argue against that. Yeah.
Duncan, what do you think about the how do you look at the last 6 years and think how many prime ministers? Okay, so we had Boris Johnson,
Seven.
Liz Truss,
I
Rishi
think
Sunak.
7 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah, Rishi
That's the
Sunak.
point. We can't remember. That's
Yeah,
that's why it's so
then
bad.
then Keir Starmer, and Keir Starmer's just resigned. So, we've had four in the last few years, we've had four prime ministers that I can remember. We have a new prime minister on the horizon. Is there strength in the royal family because of that consistency? Like politically, things have been so chaotic over the last few years. But after the loss of Queen Elizabeth, I mean, even during Queen Elizabeth's reign, you could look up and you knew the faces on the balcony, and there is some comfort in that, right? Culturally, when things are so uncertain politically, there has to be some comfort in this institution that represents you. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, and I think that the key point, based on my experience, is that if you have apathy and contempt for the royal family, we're not going to have people trying to put gunpowder under the Houses of Parliament to take the king out on a key moment. But if you have apathy, if people don't care, then you've got a problem. From what I've seen as a royal correspondent, and Charlie's been a royal correspondent far longer than I have, but people used to see the Queen and it was like Christmas had come at once. And we've seen that with King Charles. I've seen it with Harry. I've seen it with William. I've been in countries around the world, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Sri Lanka. I've been in countries, America, massively in America, where there is this kind of love for the royal family. That's fine, but that could go with the click of someone's fingers. And that's why I think, in terms of Buckingham Palace, they will be seeing surveys that like that with Generation X and Generation. I don't even know what the generations are. I'm Generation old bugger. But when you've got a demographic that are starting to be apathetic towards the royal family in Britain, then it is, I think, under threat long term.
Hey everyone, Kinsey Schofield here, and I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It's a total game changer, Peak's Liver Detox Protocol. You may not know it, but your liver handles a lot: energy, hormones, digestion, and even your mood. But with all the stress and toxins from everyday life, it needs some love. Forget harsh cleanses. Peak delivers gentle daily support inspired by traditional Chinese medicine. Their routine uses two simple blends. The first is a warming turmeric mix with cinnamon and black pepper, designed to help the body absorb it better and support the liver while calming inflammation. The second is a ginger and cinnamon blend that helps with blood flow, digestion, bloating, and immune support. The magic is how they work together to activate and flush for better digestion, stable energy, less brain fog, and that light, clear feeling. My energy is consistent, my skin is clear, and less bloating. That's Peak, where spirit meets science. Redefine your standard of health, secure 20% off your order, and begin your intentional wellness journey today at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Thanks so much. Charlie, he just hit on something that I feel like I've been talking about a lot over the last year. And it's like that apathy towards Harry and Meghan, like how that is a bigger risk to them than being loathed because we just don't care anymore. We're not clicking on the headlines. You know, Harry's at an NBA game. I don't care. I'm at Trooping the Color and I'm celebrating his father's birthday. I don't care what NBA game he's at. I'm not going to buy her jam. Um, do you look at this upcoming trip? We're moving on to the Harry and Meghan's potential return. I'll personally believe it when I see it. I'm not so sure it's actually they love the will they won't they game, so I'm not sure that they will actually show up as a unit. But do you think if Meghan does come back to the UK, it's an admission of failure, it's an admission of defeat, and it's because there really is a complete lack of interest in them and they have to do something dramatic to reinvent themselves or stir up some headlines?
Well, it's interesting you use that phrase, admission of defeat. I think it is an admission of defeat because if you remember, Harry was staunch that this was a dangerous country. I'm not coming back until I get, royal protection, armed royal protection. Well, he isn't going to get that. Now, the best he's got is he's probably going to stay at a royal palace. They're talking Buckingham Palace. Now, that is within a royal protection area. There are gun guards all over the place. He won't get a PPO, a personal protection officer. Neither will Meghan. Neither will the children. But they will be guarded by, armed police as part of the routine that they guard the palace and they guard the people that are in the palace. So if anything were to happen, these officers would go to them. So from that point of view, he's failed in that one, which just goes to show that he was being a pain in the bottom with this constant court case scenario, which has cost me, you, Duncan, a lot of money in court fees. Not you, Kinsey, because you don't have
Well,
to
I
pay
do
for
have
it.
to. I do work in the UK. I do have to pay taxes.
Yes, well, so we've all had to pay. We all have to pay for this. Now, if Meghan does come across, what is she going to do? Is she going to turn up at the Invictus, any Invictus events, or is she going to sit and moan and just sit in an armchair in Buckingham Palace? There are no public events as far as I can see. And how is she going to be received by the public in this country? Her popularity in this country is at an all-time low. We
We
don't
don't
want to.
we don't need surveys to tell us that either.
No,
I talked to
no,
several people while I was there and they said that they can't stand her, that her and her husband need to apologize not only to the royal family, but to the country for
we
their accusations.
have to remember as well that it's unlikely, extremely unlikely, if she comes across that William and Catherine will greet her in any shape or form. Will Queen Camilla be in the same room to see her surrogate grandchildren? I doubt it very much. Not after what Harry has said about her in Speyer. The things that they said, hurt an awful lot of people. And that hurt has not been assuaged, really. Harry has not apologized for any of this. Neither has Meghan. So, okay, the great news is the king is going to see his grandchildren. That's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I wish them all the best and everything else. But, I'd love to be a fly on that wall when they have that afternoon tea.
Mm.
It's going to be really interesting.
Duncan, do you think Meghan will take any accountability or is she going to play stupid and use the children as human shields to avoid having to deal with any serious conversations?
Well, what I've just heard from Charlie, I think, is the biggest insight into the reality of this situation. Um, you know, you can't forget the accusations that have been fired at the royal family. And Meghan is somebody who, frankly, after everything she's said and everything she's done, King Charles, when he was Prince Charles, walked her down the aisle because she wouldn't speak to her own father, right? Her own
Facts.
father has had a leg removed and is clearly in bad health, and she doesn't seem to give a monkeys. you know, who are we talking about here? We are talking about somebody who is ruthlessly ambitious and who is unfortunately shown her true colors. And I personally think, and I might be wrong, but let's see in a few weeks' time, I'll be surprised if she comes back to Britain because
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone here in Britain that wants to talk to her. And why should they?
I read the other day, and this was someone who was speaking on behalf of Harry coming back over here, and they were saying that Harry wanted to introduce Meghan to some of his friends and other parts of the family. And what friends? They've all deserted him.
Yeah,
Hmm.
They've all gone
nonsense.
away because of
He's not
Meghan's
allowed to
gotten them
talk to
away.
him.
And
Yeah.
I also read that they're going to spend some time with Earl Spencer up at Althorp, which is possible. Which is possible. I have no idea. I'm like you, Duncan. I don't believe she's going to be here. If she does, fine. If the king sees her and sees the kids, that's absolutely wonderful. But I stress again, and I echo what you just said. There's two grandfathers in this, and they're ignoring the one, which is an absolute disgrace. The way they've
Mm,
treated Thomas Markle.
The Earl
mm,
Spencer relationship, Charlie, really is so bizarre to me because we did see Earl Spencer show up to celebrate Invictus for the 10-year anniversary when
Sure.
in London when no one from Harry's family did show up. But we also know that Harry approached Earl Spencer and said, I'd like to change my last name and Meghan's last name and my children's last name to Spencer. And Earl Spencer said, absolutely not. He was recently remarried in Arizona, which is a 1.5 hour plane ride from Harry and Meghan in Montecito, an hour if they would have driven to LAX from Los Angeles to Arizona. Harry and Meghan didn't attend his recent wedding to the archaeologist or whoever. I'm Team Karen Spencer. I'm close to Karen, so I can't stand this new union. But that is a weird position, or that's a weird relationship that I have yet to really understand. It
Well,
feels opportunistic from both sides.
it's even weirder when you think that the King and Queen were in your country not so long ago celebrating, the 250th anniversary of your independence, of kicking us out of it. Um, but now, did Harry and Meghan hop on a plane and get from Los Angeles, which would have been easy for them to get from Los Angeles to New York? And I'm sure if they had an inclination to do that, there would have been an afternoon maybe when the king, the king was having some downtime because of his age and because he's still fighting the cancer and everything else. Never even occurred to him, did it, to come across and see the king and see his father and his stepmother? Not at all. So,
No, it does. Duncan, the whole thing seems like there's an ulterior motive. Is the ulterior motive just needing some positive press, just needing that royal sparkle?
wow. You asked me a question that, frankly, I probably shouldn't ask, but what on
Yeah.
earth I will. In my personal opinion, all we've seen from Harry and Meghan since they left the UK is them cashing in on their association with the royal family. And if there's a little crack in the door where they can get back and have conversations with the king and let the grandchildren see him, I think they're chancing their luck if they think that William and Kate are going to see them. I think that's incredibly unlikely. But you kind of think, are we talking about gathering chapters for Spare Two? And that to me, I like Harry. I always have.
You like the
And I've
Harry
told you
you
that
like the
before.
Harry he used to be. You like the Harry he used to be.
Yeah, but deep down, people are still the same people. I think Harry's okay. But his behavior for the last 6 years has been reprehensible. And I really worry about that family meeting up with the king because
Mhm.
yeah.
I just think it's providing them with more fodder for a TV interview, a Netflix documentary. I just don't. He's broken the trust and the trust is gone.
And I think Duncan has made a very, very valid point there about the trust. You know, what's going to happen when the king walks into the room and Harry and Meghan are there and the children are there? Is there going to be a little video taken by Meghan or Harry?
Mm,
That's
yeah.
what parents do with when the granddad's there and everything else. And where is
Mm,
that video going to end up? Is it going to end up on some American TV show, or as Duncan may suggest, and I don't disagree with him, it's going to end up in Spare 2? Who knows? I mean, these two cannot be trusted. They cannot be
mm,
trusted. And unfortunately, to me, it looks like they're finally now using the children as cannon fodder to get closer again to the king without actually saying sorry for all the hurt that they've caused.
Totally agree. Well, do you agree with us, disagree with us? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Duncan, Larcombe, Charlie Ray, what a blessing to spend the time with you today.
been
I
a
didn't
pleasure.
realize I was a poet and I didn't even know it, but we could have written a song right there after that beautiful line. I enjoyed your company very, very much. So thanks so much for your insight and your opinion. And I look forward to seeing you both again very soon.